wizard, Harry. They can do this all day. You must learn the ways of the Force.
What's up, nerds? It's your boy Oscar here with a very special edition of the Nerdy Nerd Chronicles, a subsidiary of the Miles Offside podcast, here to give you a special report on a recent trip that I took to the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser. I do have the esteemed honor of being joined by my beautiful and intelligent wife, the one, the only, the good Dr. Emily. Emily, good to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
An absolute pleasure. So we're going to be talking about the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser today. That is, for those of you that don't recognize that name, the Star Wars hotel, quote unquote, in Orlando that they opened up. So we're going to follow a completely spoiler-free review for a bit. Then we'll go to what I would call medium spoilers, which is really just about like what's available on the ship, what it looks like, and stuff like that. Because I do know some people would consider that spoilers. Haven't looked up pictures or anything. And then from there, we'll go to full-out spoilers on like the story and things that happen and what we liked about that. So buckle up. This is going to be probably even longer than Ian's Wagatha Christie episode.
Probably.
But hopefully we'll keep it under 3 hours. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
We'll try.
Yeah. So I guess a good place to start is with a little explainer of what the Star Wars Galactic Starcruiser is, for those of you that don't know. I did do a Patreon episode about this like a year or two ago when it first kind of was announced. But for those of you that don't know, the Starcruiser is a hotel of sorts in Orlando at Disney World. But I think that calling it the Star Wars Hotel, and Disney should have done a better job about this up front, is incredibly misleading, because the reality of it is that you're more like in a living play.
I would say would be better to say that it's a Star Wars experience rather than a Star Wars hotel.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. Because technically you're like in a building.
Yeah, you're in a building that has your room in it as well, but
there's a lot more, yeah.
There's so much more to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the way I've kind of been describing it to people is that it's like Westworld, but in Star Wars. So you get to go, and for 48 hours, it's 3 days, but kind of like an afternoon, a full day, and then a morning, live in a Star Wars story. So everyone who works on the ship is in character. The idea is that you arrive at a terminal, and then they take you on a shuttle up to a ship, and you blast off into the actual Star Wars universe, and there are all sorts of characters and like people in full out costumes that are like from the movie quality. And you're not coming and going, like you're not just staying there at night and then you go to the Disney World parks.
No.
So in that regard, it's very much not like a hotel. It is a living experience.
It's very immersive.
Incredibly immersive. Everyone there is like so good at bringing you into the world. Yeah,
starting from when you first check in, before you've even stepped into the building.
Yeah, and then the service was incredible.
Yes, which Disney service is usually really great anyway, but they definitely took it to another level.
Yeah, this was above and beyond. I was completely blown away by the quality of it. I guess we'll start with saying like 100%, well, I say 99.9% positive review of it. Mm-hmm. Right, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, if we're doing like, I don't know, a 10-star rating system, I'd probably do 9.7.
Yeah, sure. That sounds about right. Very, very minor quibbles. The big sort of caveat to get out of the way is that this is like prohibitively expensive.
It's so expensive for such a short amount of time, too.
It's like a honeymoon level expensive, which is going to stop a lot of people from even being able to consider doing it.
For sure.
When you're there, you can see where that money went.
Yes, I would agree.
Because it is unbelievable, the level of detail everywhere you look. Mm-hmm. I've never at all seen anything like it. It really felt like Westworld. Like, it really felt like you were just like, okay, I'm someone else for 2 days.
And I'm somewhere else.
Yeah,
like
100%.
I totally forgot that we were in Florida. Like, yes. I wasn't thinking about that.
It had a bit of a Vegas vibe because you're in the hotel, you're in the ship for 2 days straight, and there's like not really windows, and you're like, you lose sense of like what time it is because you've just been running around having fun for like 48 hours straight.
I will say, Oscar got an espresso martini at one point, and I was like, it's kind of late to be having that much caffeine. And then we checked the time and it was 5:45 p.m.
Yeah.
So that's a little sense of how like your time is so thrown off. But I will say I was a bit nervous before we started about how short of a time it is and thinking it's so expensive and we're spending such a short amount of time there.
Yeah.
But now that it's done, it did feel like it was a lot longer than it was.
Yes, they cram a lot.
They cram a lot in there, and you also, because everyone is so, all the details, all of the cast members, everyone's so in it that
even the guests,
but you very quickly are just like in the story.
Yes,
and then it doesn't stop.
Yeah,
so it really feels, it's such a fast pace that it feels like you were there for more than a day and a half, basically.
Absolutely. And I think part of what's important to say is that what differentiates it from a hotel is the story element of it. Mm-hmm. When you arrive, they give you like a little like pad, a data pad, or it's an app on your phone. And along there, you're like texting characters and you're getting missions.
All of your schedule is on there.
Yeah. And it's like a cruise ship.
A map of the ship.
Everything's on there, yeah. But, like, you are following your own story. And Disney wrote this amazing, like, I think there's 300 potential storylines that you can take for guests. So you could keep going back and, like, have a different experience every time.
That's cool.
And you're interacting with the cast members and you're, like, going around. There's, like, a lot of different areas of the ship where you have to, like, explore and, like...
Which is not to say that there's not time to, like, sit and enjoy stuff.
Yeah.
But... because you can ignore the messages until you're ready to do them.
And in fact, like, you don't have to do them at all.
You don't have to do them at all. But it was fun when, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of how to say this without any spoilers at all. We would, finish a mission and then make a plan to, like, let's go to this area and get a drink and chill for a bit. And then we'd sit down with our drinks and then... one of us would get a message and we would be like, I'm actually going to be right back.
Yeah. Yeah, like, exactly.
Hold my seat. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
At the same time, there was definitely also people just like camping out at the bar, drinking Star Wars drinks with their friends for like hours at a time.
Yeah. The nice thing about it is because it's so individualized and it's all on your phone, on the app, that it's really up to you how and when you do and how much you do. There's no one... like pushing you to do stuff.
No.
You get prompts through the app but even those, it's never like you have to do this right now or you miss your chance. It's here's your prompt when you're ready. You can interact with it.
Absolutely. And I think that like they do such a good job of that balance of being like, you can do this as much as you want or you can do this as little as you want.
Yes, definitely.
But I will say that anyone who is considering going and is like, I don't know about the missions, it is very worth it.
It definitely makes the experience a lot richer. I don't know that anyone's really going and doing none of the missions.
Some of the parents there were there. Like there were some like teenager kids whose parents just like were there to chaperone them. Yeah.
I just think that it would be such a less fulfilling and engaging experience if you were to not do them at all.
Well, and you literally like will see less of the ship and like
and
have access to less things.
And there's an individualized story, like Oscar said, but there is also a larger overarching story that everyone is a part of.
Yes, so you could just check in on the main.
You could just check in on the main one, but you'll understand the main storyline more. Like it will mean more to you if you do the missions because you make connections basically, and you get to know the characters a bit more. And so I think that it just makes the entire story as a whole more impactful.
Yes, and then like when there's like. When things are happening in the main story, you know the backstory to that stuff.
Yeah, you know why it's happening.
Because you were literally involved in like facilitating different things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out how to say any of this without like.
Well, I will say I can say this without any spoilers at all. I'm extremely introverted.
Yes.
Like very much so. I don't like socializing. I hate small talk. I don't like talking with strangers. For the most part, I'm not interested in meeting new people.
You barely like talking with people you like.
Yeah. So I was a bit nervous going into this because I knew that there were missions. I didn't look into any spoilers or anything, but I knew there were missions. I knew it was very interactive. I knew that all the cast members stay in character. And in my mind, it was almost like Star Wars improv or something.
Yeah.
Which sounds like my worst nightmare.
Yeah, it does.
Like, the idea of having to do, I'm pretty sure I've had nightmares where I'm forced on stage and have to do improv. Like, that just sounds horrible to me and not at all an idea of a good time.
Yeah.
So I was a bit worried going into it. But then once I was there, like, pretty quickly, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this.
They were so good at selling it.
They were so good at selling it. Everyone who's there, I think partly because it's so expensive, you're not going to go unless you're really into Star Wars.
Yeah.
So everyone there was super into Star Wars and ready to buy into the story. And also in terms of the cast members, like the characters, quote unquote, for the story, I think that might have been what I was most nervous about, like interacting with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say they're really good at carrying the conversation.
Yes.
Like, it's never on you to carry the conversation. If you want to, they accommodate that. Like, they're very good at responding to what you're giving out.
They were all so good at improv, too.
They're all so good at improv. They have such great reactions, and they're really good at sensing, like, oh, this person is very into it and wants to be involved. Or this person is kind of shying away from me a little bit and doesn't want to be, like, have too much attention on them. They're really good at reading the room.
The bartenders were good at that too, especially
the bartenders were good too.
Some of them very clearly would just like drop off someone's drink and then like
leave you alone,
fuck off for a bit. Yeah. And then like sometimes like I'd sit down and they'd be like, "What's your homeworld? Tell me," and like we'd just be going off about like Star
every
Wars
single
stuff.
person was like, "Let me have this intense conversation with Oscar."
Yeah, very much.
They're really picking up your vibes.
Let's pull back a little bit because I think we're already starting to get in the weeds.
Yeah.
Would you say this was worth the money? For obviously nothing is you're spending about $100 an hour.
Horrifying to think about it that way.
I know, yes, I know. Including sleep. Like it's like the room, well, I mean, if you can get like friends to go, it is very much helpful because it would split the cost. The room is basically $5,000, $6,000 for the whole trip. Mm-hmm. So if you're just there by yourself or if it's just you and your partner, like that's the same as being there by yourself in terms of cost. When you're adding
extra people, it's not that much extra to add another person. So because essentially you're paying for the room, not the people.
Right, exactly.
So if you can split it like 3 or 4 ways, and there is room for sure for that many.
There's
people.
Up to 5. You have room for up to 5 people in a room.
Yeah.
So that would be like $1,000 a person, which is significantly cheaper, right? But like for us as one bank account, essentially.
And I'd say you could get 5 adults.
Yeah, for sure.
2 people have to be willing to share a bed.
Yes.
But then
the rooms, there's like a couple of suites. Those are like,
I'm sure those are really
unbelievable, like unaffordably expensive. If you're listening to this, you're not the type of person who can afford that. I love you, but no offense. But I slept in the bunk. So each room has a queen bed, 2 bunks, and then like a fold down bed, a Murphy bed. And I slept in the bunk one of the nights just like for the fun of it. Because it looks very Star Wars.
It looks so Star Wars, yeah.
And it was great. It was comfortable. It was big. I wouldn't say comfortable per se.
Yeah, the mattress was a bit firm for my taste, but some people like that.
Yeah. So I would say if you are on the fence about this, or if you're like, maybe I'll save up for this, maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not. I would say that the money is, if you're like blessed / privileged / lucky enough, depending on your philosophical and or religious view on life, to be able to afford it, I think you pretty much know whether you're going to like it or not.
Yeah, I think if you hear the description and you want to know more and it sounds interesting to you, then you're going to like it.
Yeah.
If you hear the description and you are like, that's so lame, why would anyone spend money to do that?
Yeah. You're
not going to like it.
Right. Because when I say it's the Westworld of Star Wars, I really think that's like the easiest way to think of it in terms of like, do I want to do that or not? Mm-hmm. If you're just going to like be in a fancy hotel for 2 days and like lounge and have food and drinks.
That is not this vibe.
Not the vibe.
Because it's not a resort. You know, it's not like the other Disney hotel situations.
Yeah, it's very small. There's only 100 rooms on the ship.
I think that they said for our booking, I think there was like 376 people or something.
Yeah, it's something like that. It was like between 350 and 400.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. I'd imagine most sailings are about that.
Yeah.
2 to 3 in a room. Maybe some families of like 4. And the people who were there to like either just watch their kids run around or whatever were the ones that, like, the food was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The drinks are amazing. The theming is amazing. It's really cool looking. It's beautiful. But like, if you don't particularly care about Star Wars,
it's just not going to have any meaning for you.
Yeah.
It's going to be, oh, that's a cool looking bar. Oh, that's a nice outfit, I guess. That's
right.
creative. But if you have no emotional connection to Star Wars at all, it's going to look interesting.
Yeah. I would say, like, if you're not hearing someone say, like, I'm from Yavin 4, and you're like, that's exciting, it's probably not for you.
Yeah.
That's not to say that you have, like, I am level 10 out of 10 Star Wars fan.
Sure.
Like, I have several Star Wars tattoos. I read the books, the comics, the games, the movies, the shows. Like, I consume all Star Wars. And you are not like that, though.
8 out of 10?
When we first started dating, you would have been like a 6.
Not even, I don't think.
Oh, and now, yeah, I'd have you like a 7 or 8. Like, you've watched the animated shows.
Like, I watched the animated shows.
But you haven't watched all of the episodes of Clone Wars?
Yeah, I've read a couple comics. I've read a couple books.
Mostly because I'm like, you should read this, read this.
Mostly for that reason. I don't feel like I need to read all the books or the comic books or anything.
But, like, we sat outside while we were waiting to like, check in.
Yeah.
And we did the alphabet game.
Yep.
And it was like name a character with every letter of the alphabet, and you were able to mostly do it.
Yeah. I had some good pulls too.
Yeah. So like if the idea of sitting there and being like, okay, a character with letter A, a character with letter B, all the way through Z is like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not something I would ever do. Like, it's not worth $100 an hour to do this.
It's really hard. You can't. There's no like line in the sand that you can draw and say, okay, if you do XYZ,
right,
you're a big enough Star Wars fan that you're going to like this.
Trust your gut is what I'm saying.
You'll know. You know how much you like Star Wars. You know what your history is with it, what your emotional connection is with it. And I feel like you'll be able to know pretty quickly.
It's cool. Like I said, I'm not trying to say it wasn't like the food is amazing. They put so much work into these menus. The drinks are so cool and like, just
very expensive.
Well, yeah. Different from anything you've ever tasted or experienced. Like, they do a good job of making it good, but decidedly alien.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The activities are fun. You have, like, some pre-programmed activities like you would on a regular cruise ship.
Yep.
So the premise, by the way, is that you board this cruise, and it is a 2-day cruise.
Yep.
So you're on a cruise ship, a Starcruiser.
And the ship itself, like, that's the business it's in. It's a luxury cruise ship.
So there's a captain, and the workers are all like, welcome to the Chandrila Starline
There's
cruise.
a cruise director.
Yeah, there's all of that, right? There's, like, musicians and, like, all of that stuff. So that's the premise. And then to go to the theme park, because you do get access to the theme park, and you get priority access to, like, all the rides.
And you get to go early before
you're there an
the
hour
park's
early.
open.
Yeah. They sell that as an excursion. So, like, anyone's ever done a cruise, you're like, oh, we're in the Bahamas.
Yep.
Let's do an excursion to the, I don't know, rum factory or whatever. Like, it's like that.
So you disembark, and then there's, like, a shuttle that takes you to your excursion, which in this case is the theme park.
Yeah, which is also, for the record, for those of you that don't know, in canon, in story. So, like, when you're in the theme park, and those employees don't sell it as much.
No, they don't.
Because they're just making, like, less.
Yeah.
And they're, like, the audition process for being able to be a cast member on the ship is insane. Whereas in the park, it's, like, just sweaty teenagers standing out in the sun all day. But, like, they also, like, they don't call it dollars, they call it credits, and all that sort of stuff. So it is in-world also, the theme park, which is cool because you don't ever break that illusion.
Yeah, it's nice. And also because you've already gone through, like, a security check before you get onto the cruise, you don't have to go through security for the park. Yeah. So they bring you straight in, so that really helps maintain the illusion, because at no point do you see anything non-Star Wars.
No, and it did feel like a luxury cruise line. Like, when you arrive at the park, there's, like, a person in a really nice outfit being like, my pleasure to serve you, sir. And then they just give you, like, water? Little free waters, and you're like, I'm in Disney World, and someone just gave me, like...
I know. Something free? What?
Yeah.
And also...
Not free at all, but...
And also, you're allowed to, at any point, go back to that sort of shuttle landing area.
Yeah, terminal.
Terminal that is only for the cruise guests. You can get more water if you need it.
Yep.
You can,
It's
there's
air
some
conditioned.
benches.
Yeah.
I don't think it's air conditioned, but there's big fans.
Oh, is that what it was?
And
Okay.
it's in the shade. There's benches. So if you just need like to take a break out of the sun.
Yeah. And you
get
can
some
also go
water.
back and forth from the ship. It's like a 10-minute ride.
Yeah.
And like we saw people who like went
Who
and
did
back
that,
and forth,
yeah.
just changing out of their very sweaty clothes
Yeah.
because Florida in July is
A nightmare.
a nightmare. Although the Brits are like, "What are you talking about? It
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
in the 40s Celsius." So
Fair enough.
Quit crying. Yeah, I don't know. I think you trust your gut. You know if you're gonna want to enjoy this or not.
Mm-hmm.
You have to definitely at least like Star Wars. You don't have to be the most insane Star Wars fan, but you have to be a pretty big Star Wars fan.
Be pretty into it.
But it was cool as a cruise also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you can afford it and you think you want to do it,
Do it.
100%.
It's like nothing else I've ever done.
When we came into this, we were like, okay, this is so expensive. It's once in a lifetime. And now I'm like, maybe it's once in a 5 years.
No.
Can we go back?
No, but maybe at some point we can go again.
When the nephews are old enough.
Yeah, maybe.
We'll do a trip with them or something. We'll tag along. Or my buddy Pat, when he is eventually ready to go, I have to go with him because he's like my Star Wars blood brother, like all the way. So that's kind of like the like, should I do this?
Yeah.
Trust yourself. You'll know if you want to do this. And if it is something that you have interest in, it is the best possible version of it that it could be.
Yes.
I had unreasonable expectations going into this.
And you've been building them up for
A year, 2
year and a half, maybe?
Yeah, like when it
So-
first got announced.
real easy
Five
for that.
years, really.
Real easy for that to come crashing down.
Yeah. And I do that to myself all the time.
Yes, you do.
All the time. And it somehow exceeded my unreasonable expectations. It is as, like, they don't have, obviously, super robots that you
Sure.
can't tell aren't human.
Seems a given.
Right. But it is as immersive as a Westworld. It really is.
Like, if you mention anything about
Earth.
pop culture, Earth,
Yeah.
the
If
movies,
you say Star Wars,
the
yeah.
movies, they 100% act like they've never heard of it. They don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they sell it pretty well, and they stick to it. The only time that they will come out of it even a little bit is if you're like genuinely confused about something,
Yeah.
and you're like, listen, just be straight with me, please.
Can you talk to me like
Can
a
you
human,
talk to me
please?
about this?
Yeah.
Like, they will not completely like drop character.
Yeah, and like guest services
but
is much more inclined
they'll talk
to do that.
around it a little bit, so until you are like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
otherwise, they're very strict about sticking to
Yeah,
the character.
but in a good
storyline.
way.
Yes, in a good way, in a way that like makes, at least from my perspective, made me feel a lot more comfortable about like participating in that
Yeah.
aspect, because they just act like it is. It doesn't seem like they're acting. It just seems like you're interacting with an employee
Yeah. On a
that
cruise
happens
ship.
to be on a star cruise. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
So it made me feel more comfortable about like staying in that character, quote unquote.
So that's the general impressions of the ship and the cast members. I think we can move on to the fellow passengers.
Okay.
Because that's part of what I was the most afraid of or nervous
Yeah.
about. I know I just spent 20 minutes talking about how I'm the nerdiest Star Wars fan in the world. But like, I was a little concerned that we were going to arrive and it was all going to be like 40-year-old, very sweaty, smelly dudes. Like,
Just the people who are terrible on Twitter.
yeah, exactly. Because who's a big enough Star Wars fan to be doing this? And as you know, I love being a part of a fandom where I hate the rest of the fans.
Yep.
And you know, like, yeah, I think back to like that viral video from like early in the internet of Star Wars Kid, like the chubby guy just like doing the fake lightsaber, and then he just like falls over and stuff. And I was like, are we just gonna be surrounded by that? Like,
Yeah.
I'm a big nerd, but like, I don't know, I'm not like that. Like, I'm not about that. But everyone was pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and I was worried, honestly. We put a lot of thought and time into our outfits to cosplay, and I was
Very out of character for us, for the record.
very out of character for us, especially me. Like, Oscar loves Halloween. Oscar loves a good costume.
This is true.
I am not so into that. Like, I will do it if forced, if dragged along with, like, if we're doing a group thing, if we're going to a Halloween party and everyone's going to be dressed up, then okay, fine, I'll do something, but it's really not my comfort zone.
No, neither of us ever has any interest in LARPing on any level whatsoever.
I respect people who do it, don't want to do it myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was very much outside of my comfort zone, so I was a little worried that, like, we put all this thought and time into these outfits, and I didn't want to show up and put them on and have, like, be one of, like, 20 people who are taking it that serious.
No, I would say it's
look
about
silly. You know what
60-40 in terms of people who cosplayed the whole trip.
Yeah, during the day, I think so. It was a little less like a dinner, because I think people would, like, get tired of being in those clothes or get sweaty and want to change.
Not the first night, I don't think.
Maybe that was the second night.
The second night, because people had been in the parks all day, so everyone was, like, sweaty and tired.
But yeah, I would say that it was like 60-65% of people were dressed in cosplay. Various level quality cosplay. Like, some people were full out, like, head to toe, everything.
Jedi
was
garb,
clearly,
Imperial garb.
Yeah, it was clearly planned. Hairstyles. There are a few people who had, like, face paint on.
Or, like, appended, like, head tails and mandrels
stuff
and stuff
like that. And then there were people who just had, like, sort of a, like, nondescript regular clothes with, like, one element.
That was the funniest to me.
Wars.
To me, that's the people that, like, didn't realize how many people were going to be cosplaying.
And then bought something quickly.
They're just wearing, like, New Balances, cargo shorts, and then a shirt, like a Jedi shirt, like, or whatever.
And there was definitely a mixture of, like, people who clearly bought online, like, a Rey costume.
Yes.
A Han Solo costume.
They were, every guy was just Han Solo.
Versus people who had, like, actual real human, if you will, clothes, Earth clothes.
Oh, like what we did.
Yeah, but then just how you combine them to look like a Star Wars person, but none of them were, like, costume pieces.
As I'm sure all of you know, I love a project, and I do love some fashion.
You do love some fashion.
And the ability to, like, create a wardrobe that looked Star Wars, but was, like, unique and not just a Han Solo cosplay was very exciting.
Which you nailed, by the way.
Thank you. It was great. And we spent an unreasonable amount of money on Amazon and, like, buy a shirt, return it, buy a shirt, return it. I basically just looked like a K-pop idol, but, like, then...
We learned a lot of new fashion terms that we had never heard of.
Techwear.
Techwear was one of them.
Yep.
So we really delved deep into those strange Amazon pages.
Yeah, but I felt... I should say you don't have to cosplay.
Yeah, you don't. There were definitely people who were not.
Yeah, and there were definitely people who were, like, engaging with the story and, like, huge Star Wars fans who were just like, I'm not about that. And that's fine. They still had fun. But for me, it was fun to step out of my comfort zone.
It was fun. It made me feel different. Like, I don't wear clothes like that on a normal basis. Like, so the fact that, like, I looked totally different and I was in a totally different place, like, it just helped sell it for myself.
Yes.
So it made me, like, more willing to go along with it. And I will say, I did notice, I feel like the character cast members, they will interact with anyone and everyone.
Yeah, of course.
No matter what you're dressed like. But in terms of approaching people, they seemed more likely to approach the people who were more in, like, costume, if you will. Because, I mean, it does signal that you're more into it.
And frankly, it made me feel really confident in a way that was, like, cool that I don't have. I was like, I'm wearing this ridiculous outfit and I'm kind of pulling it off.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm like a cool, like, space dude.
Right. And because you're in a group of people who are, the large majority are also doing a similar thing to you, like, they clearly appreciate that. So no one's looking at you like, why are you a weirdo wearing weird clothes?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's like, ooh, I really like that belt. Or, ooh, I really like your cape. Like, you get compliments like that and stuff. Or just people clearly looking at you and being like, oh, that outfit.
Yeah, that felt pretty cool.
Like,
there was a couple of times
like,
at dinner where...
Whereas, like, if you just put on these outfits and walk down the street, people would be like,
insane.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, unless you're, like, in
what are you
Soho
doing?
in New York.
Yeah, and even
like,
then you turn some heads.
Yeah, for sure. So that was fun. The cosplay element was fun. And the other ship passengers were good. Yeah. No one was obnoxious. Like, they would interact with you if you wanted to. Everyone knew the deal. I think pretty quickly, like, the social norms were set. Yeah, and
like, of course, there's some, like, annoying kids.
Oh, God.
Who are obnoxious and, like, need to be the center of attention and push in front of everything. But that's going to be the case, like, literally any vacation spot you go.
I just wanted to say hey to Chewbacca, okay?
Yeah.
All right?
But For the most part, like, everyone was really nice and friendly.
Yeah.
And, like, just if you was sitting near someone at the bar, like, they would just, like, chat with you for a little bit, have a friendly conversation. Everyone's in a good mood.
Yep.
Like, it was really nice.
And much like a real cruise, we made, like, a little group of, like, sort of friends.
Like, yeah, not friends, but, like, people that you walk by them in the dining room and you're like, oh, hey, have a good night. Like,
yeah, or, like, you were sitting next to the bar and you start talking about, like, your fandom and, like, how you came to it and all this sort of stuff. Like, there was people that I recognized whose real names I'll never know because, like, some people were going by character names, including us.
Yep. I would say, well, not that a lot less people were doing. There was still a good amount of people, but I think that was more the diehards were doing that.
I agree with that. But it felt cool. Like you said, it sold it to myself more to be someone else for like a few days and like be like a character.
Yeah.
Like, that was, I was glad we did that.
Yes.
And I was very apprehensive about both the other passengers and us LARPing cosplaying going into it. That's the thing. Like we brought backup outfits.
Yeah.
That were like, all right, if we're an hour into this and we're like, I'm not about.
Yeah, we feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, like this is almost ruining it for me.
Yeah.
Like we'll just go the like tourists from Earth mode in like our human clothes.
But it was like totally not because I noticed there was a couple times like when we went to the park, we decided let's just wear regular clothes because we're, like people don't wear t-shirts and shorts in Star Wars and I'm going to die if I'm not in a t-shirt and shorts.
Right.
So we decided to just wear regular clothes to the park. So we did have a little bit of time on the ship where we were in those regular outfits. And I will say, like, I did notice a difference in feeling.
Yeah.
Like, when I was in my Star Wars costumes, like, I feel like I held myself differently.
I agree.
In a way that, like,
you like
worked for the story. It, like, made me more confident. It made me more willing to, like, push myself to talk to people in a way that I normally wouldn't. Or, like, we played a game, like, if you've ever been on a cruise ship, they always do, like, those participatory games, like, the Newlywed Game and stuff like that, right? So there was a few things that were like that, and we did one that was basically a Newlywed Game, but Star Wars themed, and we were standing up it wasn't like a huge crowd or anything, but we were standing up in front of people and doing it, and, like, I would never do that, ever.
No.
But I was in my fancy dress. I was feeling myself. Yeah. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll stand up in front of people and do this.
I was surprised at how much you were willing to go with that, to be honest with you. Like,
were my legs shaking a little bit? Yes.
Were they? Oh.
Did I enjoy it, though? Yes.
No, I was just like, ooh, everyone's looking at me.
You love the attention. No, I was still a little nervous, but the fact that I was willing to do it and, like, had fun doing it when normally, like, I would be so nervous. Yeah. Like, I think part of that was because I felt more confident because of my outfits.
And I think part of that is also, like, how intimate and personalized it really does feel. Because there's so few people on board that, like, all the characters get to know you.
Yeah, like, if you participate, they remember you. They might not always remember your name, but they remember your face.
And they remember what they did with you.
And they remember what you did with you. So they'll be like, oh, did I see you at this table at dinner last night? And you're like, oh, yes, you did. Yeah. And they'll be like, oh, I saw you. We hung out at that bar yesterday.
Or they'll just casually be like,
we did.
How's the blah, blah, blah?
Yeah, we're trying to talk around it so we don't get too many spoilers. But, like, all of them are just really good at remembering faces. Yeah. And, like, connecting with people. So you really feel like they know you.
Yeah.
Which, like, I'm sure the second that the new cruise starts, they've forgotten everybody who came before, but that's fine. Like, in the moment, you feel like you're making connections.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's see. We talked about cast members. We talked about people. Let's talk about, like, the food. Oh, this is going to go for forever. You don't have to check out. She just leaned over and was like, how long have we been talking? It's like, bro, 3 hours is my max. Food and ship, like, aesthetic in general, just... Thumbs up?
Yes.
Any general impressions? Any kind of, like, without being spoilery about...
Ship? Great. Fantastic.
Okay.
Extremely Star Wars?
Yes.
While at the same time not feeling like a copy of anything we've seen in Star Wars already. Which I think is always a delicate balance. Yeah. They did it really well.
Yeah. My first complaint is here. It felt a little smaller than I wanted it to feel going in.
I would agree. Because there's, like, the corridors with the cabins, with the rooms, which fine. That's any cruise ship. You're not going to like spend time in those.
But there was less common areas.
There's less common areas than I was expecting.
Like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's partially because like we were expecting a cruise ship, which is like the size of a floating city.
They're so big.
And this is like a smaller one with like 100 people. So like you don't need that much stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely felt a little small, and there were areas where I feel like it would have been better served if they had more space.
Or more of things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But like the aesthetics, on point.
Yeah, amazing. Beautiful. Great. Everywhere you looked was something.
They thought about everything.
And down to like all the signs were in the other language and like...
with English as well.
English as well. But like you could, we're trying to learn how to read it, and we're like practicing like, oh, that's R, that's E, that's like, oh, restroom. Oh, cool, it says restroom in the Star Wars language. What about the food? I
would say on an objective level, very good. High quality, very creative. Mm-hmm. A lot of things where I was like, I have no clue how they did this.
Yeah, like
not that I'm like a fancy chef or anything, but I was literally like, I don't know how they achieved this.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And they also did a really good job at like taking foods or flavors that we all know and twisting it somehow so that it doesn't seem like normal. That it felt alien somehow.
It was drawing from all over the world in terms of the cuisines. And I don't even mean like, okay, the appetizer was an East Asian appetizer and then the main course was like a South American course. I mean like every single bite of food had elements of the Middle East, of East Asia, of Africa, of South America. A lot of stuff blended together. Of Europe and North America. Like in ways that are so good. Like, I don't know who did that. Mm-hmm. They must have had a blast, first of all, the chef people. And it felt luxurious. Mm-hmm. It did feel fancy. Like, the portions were the right size. They were very rich, very flavorful, clearly very high quality ingredients.
And I'll say, like, here's an example of one I feel like is small enough that it's not at all spoilery. I think for breakfast only we saw this. They basically had a fruit salad, which, sure, okay, fruit salad, pretty basic. And it was mostly fruits that you'd be used to, like honeydew, cantaloupe, watermelon, right? I think they had like dragon fruit as well. But they did something to it. I'm really not sure what. To
change the texture?
To change the texture slightly, but also the look. So it almost looked like it when you like put your fork into it that it should be a jelly or something.
Yeah.
That was the, like, coating. Not a coating. That's just how it looked on the outside. And then the texture was slightly different. But it was, like, just enough that, like, yeah, the fruit tastes the same. Watermelon tastes like watermelon.
Yeah.
You know it's watermelon. But it looked different enough that you were like, oh, it's space fruit.
Yeah. Like, and for me, a lot of it was, like, stuff I'd never heard of.
Yeah, or, like, there was stuff, too, for me.
And they were good about, like, being like, if you just ask, it's like, yeah, this is chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. But, like, it was, when you read the sign, it's like, oh, Endorian tip yip with blah, blah, blah.
Cheese noodles.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So even then, you're like, well, I don't know what the fuck fruit this is.
Yeah,
but it tastes
I don't know, I'm going to eat it. There was a lot of stuff with joganberry. Never heard of joganberry. But now I want to look it up and be like, is that a fruit I can get here?
Or is that a Star Wars name?
Or is that a Star Wars name for a... And then if so, what is the real fruit?
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was fun to, like, try different things. Try new things. For the dinner, you never really know what you're going to get until you show up. It's prefix. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of fun.
And the dinner was different both nights.
Both nights.
Both had different themes to the night.
Yep, which was nice. I will say on a personal level, I'm not like the pickiest eater or anything, but I wouldn't say I'm adventurous.
Yeah.
Like I can't do spicy things. I don't do seafood except for shrimp. So like I'm not the most adventurous eater. So there were some times where I was like, can I just get like a plain roll with like dinner or like a little bit of that,
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I would say like it's all of it was extremely like well crafted, high quality, delicious,
well thought out
for a variety of palates and stuff. But like, yeah, as a pickier eater than you,
not everything was for me.
Yeah. I tried to be like, when in space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we really tried everything. It was just...
There's like 2 things that I just skipped out on. I was like, that just smells like curry.
Yeah.
No thank
I
you.
will say, though, there were a lot of different options. So there's stuff that you can find that you'll like.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
It's as much... You can eat as much as you want. So you can just like go and grab extra of the thing that you liked.
And we didn't push it, but I'm sure, because I saw the waiters bringing out like pretty plain looking stuff, that if you are like, can I just get some fucking chicken nuggets, please?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, there were definitely like a lot of parents who would just ask for specific types of food or like adjusted food for the kids. And they were very accommodating with that.
Yep.
And they would, like, I noticed that they would bring, at the dinners, that they would bring food out for the kids first.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so just like they're not sitting around hungry and cranky.
Yeah, of course.
So like you can definitely work around that if you're a picky eater. Like they will accommodate you.
I would say
you just have to ask.
I'm fairly picky.
Yeah.
When we're on vacation, I try to be like, okay.
Oh yeah, you're willing to try things, but that doesn't mean you're going to like them.
But in my real life, I don't try things,
No.
and I generally don't like them if they're not chicken nuggets or pizza. But I enjoyed this. But yeah, on a personal level, I wished there was more plainer options.
Yeah.
Readily available, as opposed to like, I have to like be a fuss and but it was great. But the food was great.
It was great.
Entertainment, thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah,
I don't want to say anything, but
but the show was incredible.
Yes.
It was very like the main show that like everyone gets to be a part of. Yeah, incredible,
fantastic, good.
Okay, activities without saying what they are.
Good.
Everything you wanted. There's one in particular that was okay. Yeah,
that it wasn't bad. I just wanted more of.
I think that was
we're on the same page with that. Yeah,
one of those places where my unreasonable expectations did get away from me.
Yeah,
and I think I'm like I don't know what I was expecting,
but it also makes sense like logistically,
right?
Like
because we do live in this world.
Yeah, we in fact don't live in a Star Wars story.
So the technology.
So there are some things that they cannot do.
But some of the other ones caught me off guard with how much I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't think I'm going to care about that. And then we did it, and I was like, that was so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So 10 out of 10, 9.7. You still on 9.7?
I'm still on 9.7.
I'm still on 9.9.
Okay.
Incredible stuff.
Yeah.
All right. From here, if you don't want to know anything other than general impressions,
turn it off.
Check out. We are transitioning now to medium level spoilers, I would consider. So like things that you could see in pictures for the advertisements, things that Disney has said to people, specifically like what the rooms and activities are. Yeah. So you could probably hang out for another like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes or 15, 20 hours. I don't know. However long that takes. I think we've gotten a lot of it out of the way, really. And then we'll give another warning when we transition to full out like story. Like, what was your favorite story?
So right now we won't say anything about like what the specific
story
missions
spoilers.
Were.
Yeah, exactly.
No specific characters or anything.
Yep.
But we'll talk about the activities and like what are those common spaces.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this is your warning there.
Official warning.
2, 1. The atrium.
Oh my god, gorgeous.
Fuck me.
Gorgeous.
It looks fancy and futuristic and Star Wars.
Very, very much.
They had these 2 hologram giant column things.
Tube things? That sounds dumb, but they were really cool.
How did they do that?
I don't know.
It was holograms,
and they,
like from Star Wars.
Changed throughout the time that you were there. Sometimes like it was just on a cycle of like the cruise logo and then like the planet we were circling. And then with the story, it also changes as well.
And there was a couple of times where they had like the entire ship in the atrium.
Yes.
And it was crowded.
It was definitely crowded.
But it wasn't like unreasonably crowded.
No, it wasn't like, we weren't like packed in like sardines or anything.
Okay, so that's the first thing. You arrive and there's a terminal that's on Earth, but they're like, they take your bags and they're like, it's my pleasure to serve you, sir. Yeah, and they give you some water and like you have to go through the security check. That was cool. It felt like Interstellar almost, like the NASA spaces.
Yeah.
Very like concrete, minimalist but beautiful,
sleek somehow. Yes. Even though it's concrete.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The logo for the cruise ship line is there.
First of all, the logo is gorgeous.
What a good design.
I love it.
Yeah.
Everything about the design on point. Like, amazing.
So from there, you get on a shuttle. And that's fine. That was just an elevator.
Yeah.
With screens to be like, oh, we went light speed. Now we're on space. But whatever. That was fine. And then you step out into the atrium, and the atrium, like, takes your fucking breath away.
It's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. And I think it's cool, too, because I feel like so much of Star Wars content that we see is the grungy side of Star Wars.
Same.
A little bit, but also just like everything's run down, everything's chipped, nothing looks new.
Yeah.
Like everything's dirty, kind of.
Yeah.
Mostly sandy, because for whatever reason, everyone's obsessed with sand planets in Star Wars.
Or in the case of the prequels, fully digital and doesn't
Or fully
feel
digital,
real.
it doesn't feel real, it doesn't feel like something you could actually touch.
Right.
This is not that aesthetic.
No, this was the closest thing to this is Canto Bight, I guess.
And I would say like a little bit of like Alderaan, kind of like that we saw in the Obi-Wan show, where it's like...
It did feel like the Tantive 4, which is
like
the
sleek
ship.
And minimalistic, but still like luxe at the same time.
I wish more things in our world looked like this. It's a really pleasant
It's really nice.
space.
It's really nice on the eyes.
So that's the atrium. Attached to the atrium is, on the left, the bridge, which is like the command center, and there's like stations. You can come in and out there unless there's specific activities or missions happening that you're not invited to, which you won't get to be a part of everything and accept that going in.
Yep.
You're having your own story. And there's 100 other rooms having their own stories also. And that's fine. It's cool to kind of know that, like...
Other things are happening.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you think of the bridge? The bridge has giant windows. They're digital projector screen things. I don't know.
Not sure.
That looks like space.
I thought it was great. I mean, it was bigger than I was expecting, which is cool. There's a lot of like consoles and stations.
Yep.
The screens, I don't know how they did that, but it was fantastic. Like I wasn't thinking about the fact that it was a screen.
It just looked like you were looking out onto space.
Like you don't see seams or anything.
No.
Which
and
I'm assuming they
rounded.
probably block with like the parts of the ship. But they just do it really well.
They have depth to them.
So when things, like, because it's curved, like how you would think of a starship bridge. Like when things cross the screen, they don't warp in any way, which I feel like is really easy to do with those kinds of curved screens. It was just really well done.
I don't know how they did it.
It's also the view is constantly changing based on like where we're supposed to be. You see ships flying by.
Yeah. I actually do literally know how they did it because I looked up the patents for the screens and stuff.
We don't need to go into
They invented all sorts of new technology.
Of course they did.
Very cool. I will say minor gripe. The bridge, because of the way it had to be set up for having people in it coming and going and like crowds of people sometimes, felt more Star Trek bridge than Star Wars bridge to me. The windows,
I could see that.
Perfect. It's the exact windows that Darth Vader is always staring like gloomily out into space, like the shape of them. He's just brooding and staring out. But the way the consoles were and the setup of the room felt too round and wide compared to like a Star Wars ship.
Have we really seen what the bridge of a ship like this would be in Star Wars?
We've only seen like Star Destroyers and stuff.
Yeah, that it's meant for like war. Have we seen pleasure cruise?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the Tantive 4 is the Alderaan ship.
But that's still like a military.
It's a transport.
Yeah, it's not like
I guess.
So like I don't know what a luxury cruise liner bridge would look like. Another
good comparison in terms of the aesthetic is in Solo, the yacht, the private yacht that like he sees Kira on, Dryden Voss's yacht. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, but it's like a weird vertical thing.
Yeah.
But we never see the bridge there.
No, but the insides felt like that aesthetically.
Yeah, true. So maybe this is it's just a different Star Wars aesthetic than you're used to.
Fair enough, I'm sold. And the windows were amazing.
The windows were, and
both
the way
in terms of the technology and the shape, the cutouts of the windows. Like I don't know how to explain that. The cutouts of the
windows when you go to hyperspace, the way it looks is perfect.
Yeah, just the perfect geometry of it. Also attached to the atrium on the far side is the bar, the sublight lounge. My favorite part of the ship, I think.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So Star Wars.
Like, why don't we have bars that look like that here?
I want it. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. It was so Star Wars. There's a sabacc table there.
It's electronic.
Which is like, for those of you that don't know, is basically the Star Wars version of poker. and there was just always people camped out playing. I went
It was
at like
really hard to get spots.
6 a.m. on disembarking
And there
day,
were people there?
and there was people playing
Oh my God.
Sabacc. Like,
We only got to play it one time because it was like genuinely so hard to get a spot.
they needed more Sabacc tables.
They needed more spot tables.
They needed
for
a
sure.
casino area.
They did. Oh, that would have been so cool.
I know. I just thought of that. Oh, that'd be
That
so
would have
cool.
been awesome.
But the Sabacc table was nice. It was cool.
really
It was
cool.
holographic. Like you could see your
Yeah,
cards
it was
somehow.
cool. It was really cool.
The drinks in the bar all look
Fantastic.
different. They don't look like
They
any
look
drinks
really
you've
different.
ever had. A lot of them were like glittery.
Or had like cool foams that were like really tasty.
Yep. And the silverware and the cups and all that were like everything was
Perfect.
served in a nothing felt like
normal
from Costco
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
Like,
I will say they do not skimp on the alcohol.
oh, expensive drinks.
Expensive drinks.
You would
but
think for how
strong
much you're
drinks.
spending that they would include the alcohol. They don't. That's
don't.
a serious gripe, especially for us. We don't drink that much, but
And
I
also
get
the,
people who
the
do.
specialty non-alcoholic drinks you also have to pay for, but they're not that expensive. They were
Yeah.
like $8, I would say.
Blue milk, soda, water, juices, all of that is
Iced
included.
tea,
Anything
like
with
that.
alcohol or any like
Coffee.
specialty drinks. Yeah, like the, I don't know, Bespin Cloud or whatever.
Hoth
was-
icebreaker.
Hoth icebreaker is just like a bunch of fruit stuff and like a Sprite and
Yeah.
whatever. But like
But when you get an alcoholic drink, they are strong. So just
very
know
strong.
that.
Very strong. But the bar was so cool.
It was so cool.
Everywhere you looked, there was just like random like a not fish tank.
Yes, with a not fish in it.
Yeah, which I'm assuming wasn't real.
No, they weren't real.
But
But they
Ian,
made them look real. It looked
Yeah.
like they were swimming around.
Ian is like, tell me more. I need an hour on the fish tank, please. The chairs, the
Everything.
tables,
Mhm.
everything was so
The
Star
music
Wars.
that was playing.
Yes.
It was
they,
great.
They made a whole like album, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was a bunch of like Star Wars songs that were not like just the soundtracks. It was
Mhm,
like
mhm.
in-world
Yeah.
radio, basically.
Mhm.
Very cool. Very, very cool. I think the bar was probably my favorite area. 9.9 out of 5 on that one. What else?
There was a store.
The store was disappointing.
Was disappointing. It was really small.
Really small and mostly just sold costumes for people who didn't realize that they wanted
And
to
a
cosplay.
lot of stuff specifically for kids.
Yes.
Which I get, but then also have more adult options.
Seriously.
You know? And like they had some good like souvenir stuff like shot glasses and magnets and keychains and stuff like that.
Yep.
They had a lot of jewelry, but it was all really expensive.
There was a $2,000 necklace. I don't know if you saw
which
that.
fine to have that high end stuff,
Yeah.
but like have a bit of lower end stuff too.
The
mixed
cheapest
in
thing I
there.
saw was like earrings for $50.
Yeah, like have some
Which were
like,
just the logo.
have some cheaper things, have some cheaper
Yeah.
options, you know?
For sure. They also do have an exclusive lightsaber that you can get there that is only for the Halcyon. The Halcyon is the name of the ship. And it's cool.
It's a nice
it has the
lightsaber.
Chandrilla Star logo on
It's
in the
very
hilt.
sleek.
Yes,
looking,
I
the
like it. I
design.
really like the design. I care a lot about
And it
lightsaber designs.
Comes with a set of Arabesh characters, which is the Star Wars language.
Yeah.
Um,
It's a 1-to-1 correlation to the English alphabet.
yeah. And there's an area on the lightsaber hilt where you can put a character. It's just like a little round pin
Mhm.
almost.
Mhm.
So you can customize that too. You could be your like first initial, last initial, your made up character name, whatever
Yeah.
you want. And it comes with the whole set, so you can exchange it as you'd like.
Yeah, exactly. And I put a Z in there because I'm Zodos, but I'm thinking now when I'm home, I'm going to put an M in there for Mobius because I'm Darth Mobius.
Ah, okay.
Right, so I was a secret Sith, as you might imagine.
As always.
Everybody's like, nah, yeah, well, no, we assumed.
Not so secret.
That's true. My costumes were all black and red. But,
Or as your Star Wars buddy Pat said, anime Sith.
anime Sith, that is what. The store was my most disappointing part. I was excited to, like, be able to give them more of my money.
Yeah.
And
pretty
then
much.
they made it hard.
Yeah.
I did get the $200 lightsaber, but, besides that. And none of the stuff on the ship has the Star Wars logo. Nothing says Star Wars.
No.
It is all Chandrilla Star.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've ever been on a cruise and you go to the store and it's just like Royal Caribbean t-shirt, Royal Caribbean hoodie. It was all like Chandrilla Star stuff.
Yep.
But mostly just costumes.
Mm-hmm.
For people who didn't realize. And that was funny because then you'd see someone
then
in
you'd
like
see people in a
basketball
random hat.
shorts and like a fancy top
Yeah.
tunic for dinner, like the Organa Security.
Yeah.
Now that you said it, there's so much more Alderaan to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was cool. But the store where I wanted it to be more.
Yeah.
That was a little disappointing. Then from there, you start branching off into the hallways. The look of the hallways with the rooms, perfect. Incredible. Perfect. The hotel room itself, incredible.
Even like the door to the room.
Yep.
Perfect.
The bed, the bunk
everything
beds,
has logos.
The mirrors all have the lighting, and it's that Star Wars lighting that's like long and then dot and then long and dot.
Even the things like they have a little tin with some face masks, which you're allowed to take home with you. And on the instructions in the back, it's in English and Arabic.
Yep.
And the like image of the person using the mask is a Twi'lek, I think.
Oh, is it? I didn't catch that.
So it's like even little details like that.
In the shower, beautiful shower, overhead and shower. Wand. And you could have them going at the same time. The hair stuff, like the shampoo and the conditioner, obviously said shampoo and conditioner in English. But then in Arabic, I sat there and I translated it, and it said hair/fur, and then that wasn't translated into English anywhere. It's just a little Easter egg for you if you know how to read Arabic.
There's so much stuff like that.
I was glad we took the time to like teach ourselves that alphabet because it's words in English is just like 1-to-1 letters. So we made little flashcards and like we're practicing on the way down on the plane and stuff.
And you have a window, or a space port.
That one was less good than the one on the bridge.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Because it's smaller.
Honestly. Yeah, it's smaller.
But it is cool because when the ship jumps to light speed, no matter where you are on the ship,
you see it through the windows.
You see it through the windows. So if you happen to be in your room and it jumps, the windows do the streaking thing, and then all of a sudden you're in hyperspace.
It's so cool.
It's so cool.
And then it shows you like if we're like circling around a planet, you can see the planet. You see other ships like
and they'll be like, we are now passing by Coruscant on your,
you see like loader droids like carrying cargo in.
Yeah.
Like it's just there's constantly activity.
For sure.
You can turn it off for when you go to sleep, which I would recommend because it's very bright.
It is pretty bright. But it's cool when you go back to the room and that's the only thing that's on.
Yeah.
Because then you're
you can turn off all the lights except that, and it looks really cool.
So the aesthetic of the room, perfect.
Yeah.
Bed, comfortable.
Yep, really comfortable.
The queen one.
Yep. Pillows, comfortable.
Everything. Bathrobes, really fancy bathrobes.
Oh, the bathrobes are really comfy.
Screamed luxury. Mm-hmm. I don't know, maybe we're just like poor.
We're easily impressed.
Even though we literally talk about spending like infinity money.
Well, that's why we're poor. We spend all the money.
I don't know what actual real life luxury hotels are like.
Yeah, no idea.
In my head, they're like this.
Yeah.
So, great stuff. Mm-hmm. Super great stuff. Then
there's the dining room.
The dining room, yep. Crown of Corellia dining room. Really cool. My second favorite part of the ship, probably.
Again, very sleek, very luxe. Like the chairs have like a velvet kind of fabric to them. The chandelier, like lighting's gorgeous. And also very creative.
And very space looking.
Very space looking, very creative, like nothing I've seen before.
Yep.
Plenty of space for people.
We never had to sit with anyone else.
The breakfast and lunch is buffet style, which there was never lines.
No.
And they were constantly refilling the food, so that was great. The wait staff were great.
Incredible.
Very accommodating.
Really good.
On top of stuff.
There is a special experience you can add on that you can get called the captain's table for one of the 2 nights. You can either do it the first night or the second. They don't let you do it for both nights. I tried. And so that's like a sort of raised table in the middle.
It's a bigger table. It's in the middle.
It has like lights on it.
It has lights on it. You get, for dinner, you get a couple extra courses.
Yeah. Extra foods that you couldn't try. And that's really cool looking.
Yeah.
Really cool looking. Just the aesthetics of the dining room was fantastic. 10 out of 10. Mm-hmm. And then there are other areas of the ship that you have access through missions. I wouldn't consider this story missions, because like they are on the schematics of the map and stuff, so like
spoilers.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't consider it story.
But
spoilers.
You cannot access them unless you participate in the missions,
right?
Like,
there's an engineering room.
There's an engineering room
with like a hyperdrive core.
In order to like open anything that's quote unquote locked, you have to use your magic band, which you get a special magic band for the ship. So if you don't do the missions, you like the magic band will unlock those places.
Yeah, I mean, you can always sneak in when someone opens it. You can always sneak in
and wait for someone else to open it, but like you physically cannot get in there yourself.
Did you like the engineering room?
Yes, it was so cool.
They're so good about having buttons everywhere for you to just click.
Oh my god, yes.
Even the ones that don't do anything,
yes.
You're just like the tactile feedback of like click, click,
it's
click.
It's like I'm trying to think of a good comparison, and the thing that keeps popping into my head, which not everyone will get this reference, but the Transformers ride in Orlando, in Universal Studios, in that line while you're waiting, there's lots of buttons that you can click.
Yeah.
It's like a couple here and there as you go. There's never like a whole panel where you can hit every button, or it'll be like there's a big panel, but there's only like 2 buttons that you can actually click, kind of thing, and then nothing happens when you click them.
Right. Although there was also stuff that like if you click stuff in the right order, not even as part of the mission.
I mean like on the Transformers.
On the Transformers, yeah.
It was like that exploded. They fully understood that like you see buttons, you want to hit buttons.
Button light.
And you want something to happen when you hit those buttons. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like they just understood that like that childhood desire to just push flashing buttons never goes away.
I'd imagine the engineering room is also more the area for children.
Probably, but I had a great time in there. It was so much fun.
And it didn't feel like a set particularly. Like every once in a while, steam would just come out of pipes.
Yes. You could make steam come out of pipes if you did the right things and you press stuff in the right way.
Lights would flash and there was like sounds.
Yes. Things would like rumble.
Yeah.
The power core would suddenly light up.
It didn't look too clean.
No, those were like, that was one of the few areas that like looked grungy and dirty.
You're in the back.
Which makes sense. Yeah. It was like kind of tight and crowded on purpose.
Yep. The hyperdrive core was so fucking cool. Oh my god.
So cool.
Like the way it lit up and stuff. And I think it got brighter when there were jumps.
Yes.
Which was like...
And you could do something by pressing buttons in the right way, you could get it to
charge up or
start up, but like go to another level. Like kick into gear.
I wonder if when you're upstairs... that sets off something in the windows.
Maybe.
That's like
no. We would have been going to hyperspace all the time.
That's true. Yeah.
So
well, we kind of were.
No.
Fair enough. Engineering room was cool.
There's a brig, which nothing really happens in there, but I guess there are some storylines where people go in there.
Maybe we just didn't see them. We didn't get that.
There's a cargo bay.
What's the cargo bay? Oh yeah. There's a cargo bay.
There's an
outdoor
climate simulator.
Yeah. Basically, if you're like, I've been in this bunker for 2 days, I need fresh air. You go out and it's like a garden with like stones and like people made those like stone towers where you just stack them, but like those aren't like, you could knock them over. Like clearly those were made by guests.
Yeah.
And there was plants, but they were like weird looking plants.
Yeah.
Which was cool because you didn't, even when you went out there, like, you got the Florida humidity and punch in the face of like 96 degrees /38. I think that would be in Celsius, something like that. But it felt still Star Wars.
It did. There's a lightsaber training room.
Very plain looking. It's just a box for
which
you
is
to do
fine.
lightsaber
It
stuff.
doesn't
But
get crazy.
It didn't need to be. That wasn't the star of the show there. And I think that's all the areas.
That's everything. Yeah.
That's all the main areas at least. Great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
Great. Anything else that you would consider like ship spoilers that aren't story spoilers off the top of your head?
Not that I can think of.
We talked a little bit about the landing area at the park.
Oh yeah, I guess we could talk a little bit about the shuttle to the park.
The shuttle to the park was cool.
It was really cool because it's meant to be like a little transport ship that goes from the cruise, which is docked like up, circling around the planet of Batu. And then you get on to this little shuttle, which I'm sure is just a van that they've somehow repurposed, but it looks really good. There's a droid that talks to you.
Yep. The windows, like you can see the Halcyon in the background getting further and further away, and the planet getting closer.
Radio. They play a Star Wars radio.
Yep.
There's lots of signs in Arabish.
Everything's in Arabish there.
So that was really cool.
Yep. And then in terms of...
well air conditioned, which is nice.
In terms of when you're in the park... it's the same park as everybody else, but you do get to skip the lines on the rides, which was cool.
Yep.
I wouldn't consider this story spoilers. This is kind of the place to shove this. You get a free food at the park as well as a lunch buffet on the ship, so you could have 2 lunches on the second day if you want. They give you this cool little pin.
Yeah.
That like everyone who's in the
logo.
park knows that you're a Halcyon. So the workers do interact with you like differently.
Yep. And you can like, and you know who else is like a passenger on board as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's all the people with their phones out, like
scanning
holding it up to random trees.
Yeah, because like, you do missions on the ship, but you also do get missions when you're at the theme park as well.
Yeah, it's like you'll be on the ship and like such and such character will be like, "Hey, I need this from Batuu, and you're down there. Can you get it for me?"
Yeah, like let me know when you're here.
Yeah, and so like you have to like stand in a certain spot and like hit a certain button on the app,
which can be a little frustrating because like there's never instructions, but like you can figure it out.
Yeah, but like in real life, you don't have...
Yeah, I know. But like there were definitely a few times where we're like sweaty and hot and we're in the sun and trying to figure out this one thing.
And I'm scanning the wrong fucking cargo box because they all look the same.
There's like 12 of them and and it's so bright you can barely see your phone screen and you're getting annoyed, but like you figure it out.
I will say we've been to that park
several times.
Many times now. Like on 3 different trips, but like multiple different days each of those trips. If that had been the first time I was going to the park,
it would have been...
I wonder if the missions would have been distracting.
They would have been distracting, and I feel like I wouldn't have gotten to experience the theme park as much as I would have wanted to.
Yeah, so maybe if this is your first time going, like, go and do the missions on your cruise day, but then maybe book an extra day and get to just take the park in more slowly.
If you can. Either before or after, I think is fine.
Although the shuttles from the ship to the park run from 8 in the morning to 4 p.m., so like...
Yeah, so you could spend a good amount of time, but then you're also like missing out on chances to do stuff.
It was nice. We went back like at 11.
Yeah, like 11:30, something like that.
And because we wanted to have lunch on the ship, and we were like, we've been to the park a bunch of times before, we don't need to go back. So I guess if you had those 4 hours, you could do it more slowly.
I would, but like if you could plan it, I would recommend having a day before or after the cruise where you can just exclusively
I wouldn't do it before. The first time you go, being part of like
I guess
sells the immersion of the park also. But I guess we could have had 4 more hours in the park to like just sit and then stare at the Millennium Falcon, which we kind of did anyway.
Yeah.
But it does add value to the parks. Doing the missions is cool because you feel more interactive even than already like
and in some way, like, I agree with you that if you have never been there, like, it probably would be best for the first time to be on the excursion and then have a separate day, like, afterwards.
To go back.
But for us, since we were already familiar with, like, the setup, the layout, where everything is. All the stores. Like, we knew that, and we knew how to get to places. The missions added, like, another layer because it was like, here's this place that you're already familiar with. Yeah. But here's, like, secret things running beneath that like you didn't get to experience before.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's like, oh, go here, and you're like, oh, I know where Sabi's workshop is. Let's run over there.
Right.
So that was kind of cool too.
And we didn't take advantage of I guess we did with the cantina, but you get those, there are things in the park that basically like you have to be on the computer at 4 a.m. hitting refresh, and by 4:02 it's like sold out.
Yeah.
Which is a genuine gripe against the park. But
just
because
Disney in general.
You're a ship person, you get automatic reservation if you want it for the lightsaber building experience, for the cantina, depot. For the droid depot where you build a droid.
Yeah,
like
they set aside a certain amount of slots.
Yeah, which all of that stuff can be very difficult to get on on your own.
So that
basically.
Is nice.
So that is a huge benefit that we didn't use, but that is a benefit of that.
Yeah, and like we said before, you get to go to the park a little early before it's open. So like when if you go like first thing when you're allowed to, there is like almost nobody in the park.
Yeah.
And which is kind of nice because then you can walk around a little bit and like really see stuff without there being crowds.
That's true. We rushed straight to the rides, but that could be a good time if you're going for the first time to just
take it in.
Take pictures, just walk around.
Yes, I would highly recommend if you have not been there before, the first thing that you do is go and take photos in front of the Falcon.
Before there's a million people
so that you have like not so many people in the background of your photos.
You can angle it, you can go stand at certain spots, and like people are pretty good about like giving you space.
Yeah.
Everyone gets it. Even in the park, everyone gets it.
Yeah, everyone gets it.
They're it gives you mild hope for humanity that like people can be... No, fair enough. Fine.
But also you get to skip the line for the rides.
Yep.
Which is great. The reason that we went and sped straight towards the rides is, especially Rise of the Resistance, not infrequently breaks down.
For like an hour at a time.
Yeah. And so it's less likely to do that like first thing in the morning because it hasn't run many times.
Yeah.
So that's why we like beelined it for the rides, really.
And the rides are amazing.
The rides are amazing. So much fun.
It adds value because like you're doing missions as part of going on the rides.
Yeah.
I had a mission that took me into the cantina.
Yep.
So like we're there at the
Me
cantina
too.
enjoying ourselves, but also like now I have like secret stuff happening at the cantina. Like that was so
And I will
cool.
say about the storylines too, without getting too spoilery, but now that we're in medium territory, because they're so individualized, like, and it's literally like someone will send you a message on your data pad and it gives you a couple options on how to respond. And like which one you choose affects what they say next. It affects the types of missions you're going to get later on. Which is cool.
The more you interact with certain characters, the more you get missions of a
you
certain
get your
type.
familiarity level rises and you might get certain types of missions with them. And so we had a lot of the same missions, but we also had differing ones as well.
Yes.
Which was cool because we were there together and seeing those missions and often joining each other on them.
Yeah.
We got to see more than what we were given.
Yeah.
Sort of. So that's kind of nice. So if you are going with a group of people, like obviously do what you want, but
I don't know that that's feasible with more than 2 people because like the missions really are.
I guess if you're with 2 people, like I would encourage you to not respond to everything the same.
Oh,
so that
definitely
you
not.
are
No.
having those different tracks and you get to see more.
That paid out a lot on the second day.
That really paid out a lot on the second
Us
day
being
for
on
us.
different tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it.
I feel like that's kind of it for medium spoilers, right?
All right. So
Full spoilers?
full spoilers. This is your from here. If you were of medium spoiler, you already realized this, but go and do it as soon as you can. If you want to message me online or whatever for questions about like advice,
Sure.
fine, but do it and just go do it. And it was so cool. But now we are officially going to full out story spoilers.
Full spoilers. So if
So
you don't
this
want to know
is-
this kind of stuff, stop listening.
Yeah, which I would recommend not.
I
honestly,
would too.
unless you for this section, if you are never planning on going,
But you're just curious.
yeah, listen. If you're planning on going, tune out.
Yeah.
Go in as story spoiler free as possible, I would say. Good. Okay. All right. So final warning. 3, 2, 1. The fucking final show at the end.
Oh my god. It was amazing. From like, I don't know, like 4 p.m. to like 10:30 p.m.
yeah.
was just like balls out crazy.
The last 6 hours are exhaustingly
It
cool.
was my favorite part. It was like,
by far.
they did a really good job. I felt like of like things are kind of slow when you first get there because you're boarding, you got to get to your room.
You're learning how to use
you're
the
learning
data
how
pad.
to use the data pad. You're exploring the ship. Maybe you're changing into your costume.
Yeah.
Maybe you're hungry. You're getting some food. They really like ease you into the mission aspect, and it like slowly ramps up. You go to the
I would
park,
say
you get more.
after the first day, I was a little worried, or maybe like,
Isn't there more to this?
is this really going to be?
But it does. It builds up, and then it like really pays off.
Yeah. So at the end, Kylo Ren shows up. This is full spoilers, like I said. Kylo Ren shows up.
Ray shows up,
and they battle, and like
It's
they
so
destroy
cool.
parts of the atrium. There's
They
like
do.
pyrotechnics.
It's so cool.
There's stormtroopers. There's someone who's a hero who's in a stormtrooper costume who reveals himself halfway through.
And everyone went crazy.
Apeshit. Yes.
Like they literally had to wait to like say what they needed to say because people were cheering so much.
Yeah, and
like,
people were like the villain, the First Order guy. There's a First Order guy who like shows up on the ship like
pretty soon.
halfway through the first day. Yeah, and he's like, "We are taking control of the blow."
We're investigating.
He was incredible.
He was maybe the best character.
I don't know. So was Sammy the engineer.
Oh, Sammy was great
I love
too.
Sammy. Yeah.
Sammy MVP.
And that's cool because the characters that you're interacting with on the data pad
are there.
are the people on the ship. So you're texting and they'll reference like,
yeah, and so if you say like,
"Hey, I got that stone for you."
I scanned that cargo thing that you needed. They know what all of their possible missions are with you, and so they know what you're talking about, and they'll engage with it, even though like they weren't literally texting you on the data pad. Like, so that's just cool.
There's one character who's basically like a Han Solo type. He's like a rogue scoundrel kind of guy. And it was adorable seeing all the teenage boys just like
trailing around him like duckling.
Wraith!
Yeah, that was so funny.
I was one of them. I love Wraith. The final battle thing was
so cool. So cool.
So
and everyone
cool.
was like cheering and booing, and there was literally times where like people would just be like,
yeah.
Like, it was so
and not
fun.
just us, like everyone.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah.
It
Like
was so
the First Order guy, every time he tried to talk, everyone would be like, boo!
Yeah, people would
you
boo him.
suck!
It was
we
so
hate you."
great. He was funny. He was like
funny.
that perfect Star Wars villain of like British, sarcastic,
Over the top.
condescending, and over the top and theatrical.
Yes.
But like the perfect blend of it.
He was great. He was
so
one of the
great.
better actors. A bunch of the characters are not human.
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a Rodian, which is the one that Greedo is, kind of has like a long mouth and bug eye face. I don't know. If you know what a Rodian is, there's a Rodian.
There's a Rodian.
There's droids.
There's a Twi'lek.
There's a Twi'lek. She's the singer.
Mm-hmm.
The captain is a Chiss, which is what Grand Admiral Thrawn is. Chiz?
I don't know.
Chiss? I don't know how to say it. So she has blue skin and like
contacts and
that was great. And those people worked so hard.
Oh my god, incredible! Like they just must be so tired.
12 hours of like interacting with everyone that wants to talk to them, take a picture with them, and they remember your story.
Yep.
Like Wraith kept coming up to me and be like, "Hey," like referencing stuff from the day before.
The captain does show up briefly at the captain's table before she gets like called away for an emergency,
aka the First Order.
AKA the First Order. But then like we saw her the next day, or maybe it was later that day, and she saw us. And we were in different clothes and stuff by then. And she saw us and she was like, "Oh, thank you so much for coming to my table. Like, I'm so sorry I had to leave. How was the food?" Yeah. So, like, they remember you.
And she's like, it's like, eye roll, fucking First Order, am I right?
Yeah, basically. It was so great.
The cruise director was okay.
You didn't really interact with her that much.
Yeah. But I mean, in terms of her acting.
Oh, yeah, she was fine.
The singer was a great singer.
The singer was a great singer.
Less convincing actress when she was walking around the atrium and stuff, and it was like, Gaia. She was like, I could tell that she wasn't an actress the way the other people were.
There's this like singer-songwriter character who is like supposed to be a passenger, but is a character, who also a really great singer. Great singer. And just really fun, really good at interacting with people, really good at like getting people to like get up and do stuff.
So 10 out of 10 on the main story?
10 out of 10.
Okay. So the main story basically is that the ship is covertly a resistance transport.
Yeah, the ship is a luxury cruise, but while they're doing the cruise lines and making stops at various ports, they are also picking up cargo.
Coaxium specifically, which is light speed fuel for those of you that don't know.
To deliver to the resistance. So they are actually a cruise line, and we are all supposed to be passengers who are just trying to have a cruise.
And Chewbacca's around, but he's like always sneaking, and so you have to like sneaking him on and off the ship is part of missions for certain people. That wasn't
basically,
us.
like, the First Order catches whiff of the fact that there's resistance support going on, and they take over the ship.
Yeah, and then it continues to escalate. They're like, we are investigating.
Like, we're not going to say everything that happened.
Yeah, but they're investigating, trying to find, like, who is resistance and who supports them.
So, with the storylines, basically, then you can either help the First Order in their investigation, or you can help the resistance characters on the ship, like, hide things from the First Order.
Yeah. So or you can be
I don't really know how you can be a scoundrel though.
Smuggling stuff. I had a lot of that.
Oh. Okay.
I was Wraith. Wraith is the my interactions with Wraith where I was like so
then
one of my missions was I did a heist.
Right.
Where like we had to distract the stormtroopers while someone else did a thing. So like we had to have a cocktail napkin in our magic band, like under a magic band, and you're just kind of like standing in a certain spot, and then like he comes up to you and he's like, hey, there's stormtroopers. You gotta go distract them. And then like someone steals a gem, and then later when I'm on the planet, I had to find a counterfeit gem to put back, and like it was incredible, man.
Yeah, it was really cool. So you really get to decide like who you're supporting, but you can also you can play both sides if you want.
Yeah, you played both sides more than I did.
Only a little bit in the beginning. But yeah, so like, and like we said before, like how you respond and which missions you choose to do affects your future storyline.
Yeah, so the First Order is investigating. Chewie is there. We're trying to get coaxium so that, like, when you go to the planet, you steal the coaxium. That's one of the rides, is actually,
the Falcon ride.
Yeah, is stealing coaxium. And then you bring it back, and then at the end, the First Order finds the coaxium. And
it's
then
a whole thing.
Rey shows up, and Kylo Ren shows up, and they have a big battle, and then that's the end. That was so cool.
That was so cool.
We got a mission. I don't know how we unlocked it, really. I thought maybe it was Captain's Table, but it ended up being more people than that. Where we got to, like, there was a part when the fucking First Order sends TIE fighters to, like, fight the ship.
Yeah, well, basically the mission just said, like, come to the bridge at this time.
For a secret debriefing.
For a secret debrief with the captain. And then you get there, and it's not the captain, but it is another character that you know.
Yeah.
And basically, like, you have this group of
20
people, maybe?
Yeah.
And you have a plan to try, because we need to get reinforcements.
Yep.
Because we're being invaded by the First Order.
Yep.
The captain does show up briefly.
Yep.
To give us orders, and then goes. And then essentially, like,
a battle breaks out. We
have to go to a relay station to send a message to the Resistance.
Yep.
And us 20 people were the ones who got to do all of that.
We had to pilot the ship through an asteroid field.
Yeah, we had to destroy asteroids.
Then there were TIE fighters.
It was crazy.
Really cool. Really, yeah. I felt so lucky that we got that mission because, like, we were straight up, like, flying and fighting.
I know. We shot down TIE fighters.
Yeah, and that wasn't, like, a thing that happened a bunch of times.
No,
that happened once.
That happened one time.
Yeah. Oh, we should talk about the things that happened a bunch of times. So the pre-planned activities, the big ones... There's bridge training, so they teach you how to fly and how to shoot, and you do, like, all the different stations, you do a rotation. That was amazing.
That was really, really fun.
That was really cool. There's lightsaber training. That's the one that we were kind of...
wish there was more.
Dancing around. It wasn't bad by any means.
No, it's just you don't get that many turns.
And I don't know what I was expecting that they could do.
Yeah,
that would feel like...
I just wanted more time.
Yeah, that too.
And, like, I get that they focus on the kids who are there because, of course... Which makes sense. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but, like, I want it.
I'm saying
I want that too.
Yeah,
like, you know?
They should have, that's disappointing because they had a whole ass building. They should have had, like, 3 or 4 lightsaber training rooms.
Yeah.
They had one
and
lightsaber
I really
training
think
room.
that they should do, like, they did have specific lightsaber training for 7 and under. Yeah. That was different, which is smart. But I think that there should have also been, like, an 8 to 12.
Yeah.
And then adult.
And let them
and then,
go
like,
nuts.
13 plus or
That'll
something.
be more fun for the kids, too, because, like, they kept trying to be like, shh, not right now.
Yeah, because, like, they're getting rowdy because obviously they're excited. But
there's, like, story going on, like, when you're getting trained. So, like, the actors gently have to, like...
reprimand them.
Not reprimand, but, like, all right, buddy, Owen, right now. Owen. Fucking Owen, man.
Yeah.
That kid was... all right, well, we're not using the lightsaber right now, but we're talking, you know, like, whatever. So... I wanted more lightsaber interactions. Yeah. That's my biggest gripe, probably. Not that it was bad, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, agreed.
What else was, like, we did a photo shoot experience. That was great if you can afford it and have interest in that. Mm-hmm. That was really good. They were so, like, accommodating. They worked with us. They were like, what shots do you have? What rooms do you like?
We didn't do it, but they did offer Sabacc lessons.
Yeah, that conflicted with our lightsaber training and our dinner.
And they had a Sabacc tournament.
Yep. And that was when people were on the planet, so it was less crowded.
Yeah. They had some games, like the newlywed one we talked about.
Which we won.
Something,
high five.
Something that was basically like a Star Wars version of bingo.
Yeah.
They had, like, a time to do droid races for kids.
Yep.
If you built a droid.
The first dinner is dinner and a show. So there's a singer and a musical performance, and she was good. And
which still has storyline going on with it.
Yep.
The second night dinner was, I forget what they called it, but it was basically, it was 4 courses, and each course was from a specific planet. Mm-hmm. And so, like, they introduced it, said what planet it was from, the lights would change accordingly. There was one time where they pumped in a smell, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm. The music, when there was one of the dishes was from Mustafar, which is, like, Darth Vader's evil lava planet, and the music
was
got
very
ominous. Yeah,
it was really cool. And then, like, obviously the food was themed based on that planet as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was great.
What was your favorite individual mission moment for you?
Ooh, favorite individual mission moment. So not, like, the main storyline stuff?
Yeah, like something that not everyone did.
Okay.
I mean, other than the bridge battle, because I think that would probably be it for both of us.
Cool. That was super cool. Probably it was small and it wasn't that exciting in and of itself, but there was one mission that I had to go to the cargo bay, and I think very few people got to go to the cargo bay.
Yeah, that was not.
And it was also like very much tucked away and not obvious. It wasn't labeled. And when I went with you one time because you had a mission, we saw one cast member like walk through to just go behind the scenes to like through the crew member only door. Mm-hmm. And then when I went by myself on a mission, I saw no one. And so it was just cool because it felt like we were finding a secret room that other people didn't know, which like other people went. I saw a couple other people at certain times going through that door. But when we were there, there was no one, which was different than like when you went to an engineering room.
Engineering room was kind of crowded.
So that was cool because that really felt to me like, ooh, I'm doing something secret.
When I said earlier that putting in the effort to like really do the missions pays out the second night, there was a moment with Rey that I think only like
we shouldn't spoil
50 people got, but like
it was so cool.
Yeah,
it was so cool. I got goosebumps.
Yeah, and then later there was my mission payout on the second night was we had to like ready the ship for it to be able to like escape. Yeah, basically. So it was
like reset the systems because the First Order had taken control of the ship.
And so like again maybe like 30 people.
That was so cool
in the engineering room for a half hour.
Fixing the ship, basically. Like resetting all the systems.
And that was really cool. Chewbacca was with us.
Mm-hmm. I got to shake Chewbacca's hand, and he patted me on the back. It was so cool.
My favorite improvised moment. Rey was sneaking around the ship. Yep. And she couldn't get seen, and there were stormtroopers coming by that, like, I'm assuming they planned that on them being in the hallway at the same time as each other. Yes, obviously.
But so, like, this Wraith character, who's, like, the scoundrel character, is trying to encourage everyone to, like, distract the stormtroopers so that Rey can get away. Yeah. And so people would just sort of, like, crowded the hallway to block the stormtroopers' view.
And the stormtroopers were like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, and people were just trying to, like, talk loudly or, like, be like, hey, stormtrooper, come look at this.
And I don't know how or why it just sort of came to me, but I very loudly just started screaming the happy birthday song.
Yeah, and I started joining you, and then clapping. A couple of other people started joining you, and then, like, after, like, saying the first happy birthday
to you,
everyone was singing. Everyone in the hallway was singing it.
50 people in the hallway clapping and singing happy birthday to no one.
At the stormtrooper. Yeah. And, like, the scoundrel character was like, hey, man, I didn't know it was your birthday. Congrats. And the stormtrooper was just, like, saying they're looking confused. And
that was a good moment because it was just everyone fun. Was so immediately on board. Yeah, it was just, like, and singing happy
definitely
birthday.
Think it took the stormtrooper off guard. Yeah. And then, the scoundrel guy was like, we gotta get you some cake. And then we started the chant of, we want cake. We want cake. I forgot about that. The stormtrooper was just like so confused and trying to get everyone to quiet down. Yeah. And it was just so fun. Like, to do that.
It felt so organic because, I mean, it literally was.
Like, yeah, it was.
And anytime I can get people to, like,
do a chant.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, that was really fun.
The stories were so good.
They really were.
I'm really glad I engaged with them, and I would strongly encourage anyone who goes to, like, actively engage.
Because, like, you care by the end.
Yeah, man.
So when, like, Sammy takes the stormtrooper helmet off and it's Sammy in disguise, like, you lose your shit because you're so excited. Because we just
spent a half hour with Sammy fixing
the ship. Yeah, it was
or like when the coaxium is there, like, unless you did that mission for Wraith, like, you wouldn't have known that they were, like, gonna have coaxium on the ship. Or like other things. There's one specific thing that I'm not gonna spoil because it was the most magical. It was your payout on the second night.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we should spoil it. There's certain things that
made me cry. Like, that made me
I got goosebumps. Yeah,
for sure.
It was cool. They do a really good job at, like, even though every mission you do, you're not the only one doing that mission. Even the rarer ones, there are other people doing that mission. And then there are some missions that, like, practically everybody does. Yeah. But I will say they're so good, the cast members, at making it feel like you were the one. Yes. Who did it for them. Mm-hmm. And, like, you know in the back of their mind that they're just saying that to you and, like, they don't really mean it, but it's still cool in the moment. Like, at the very end, after the big battle, we, like, said hi to Sammy, and he said, like, thanks you two for everything that you did with me.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sure he said that to every person that he had an interaction with.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, I was like,
and
Sammy knows me.
I said, Sammy, I'm really proud of you. You did great. I don't know if you saw that. I said that to him.
That's so funny.
And I meant it. And then I was like, wow, okay. I need
You're like, wait, this is not a real person. I need to chill. Yeah. But it's fun. Like, they really do individualize it like that. Like, and you're like happy for them that they succeeded because you've gotten to know them and you help them along the way.
That's part of why I didn't lean towards First Order, because I was like, they're going to lose.
Yeah, obviously.
So I want to be on the losing side.
There's like, the singer-songwriter character has a crush on the Rhodian.
And they end up together.
From the beginning, he's talking about it. And like, but he's like, hell, she's giving me mixed signals and she's doing this. And I don't know, like, what am I supposed to do? I really like her. And then by the end, they're like walking around holding hands and like they sing a song together. And it's just so cute. Yeah. And like, we congratulated them on getting together. And
and at one point we were in the bar. When was this? The first afternoon?
That was really fun.
I guess it was the first afternoon. And it wasn't crowded. It was still pretty early on to us. Or maybe it was the afternoon, the second day when no one was on the ship. I don't know. At some point, we were in the bar with like 10 other people. Yeah. And the singer-songwriter guy showed up and was like, hey, I'm trying to write a protest song, man.
Yeah. And he like walked around and like got lyrics from everyone.
Yeah. He's like, how do you feel about...
As he was writing the song, which was fun. That even if that had been the only thing, that would have been really fun. Yeah. Because he was like saying your name in the song and like...
And then he came up to us and was like, hey, man, how do the stormtroopers make you feel? And I was like, outraged. And he's like, and what do you want to do to them? Kick them.
No, we were like, get them off the ship.
Yeah. And he was like, okay, we could use that in the song.
So you want to tell them, get off the ship, or what?
Or else what?
And I said, we'll make you.
And he like, I think that caught him off guard because he laughed. And then 5 seconds later, we go out into the atrium.
There were stormtroopers in the atrium, so he comes and says to all the... Because like not everyone in the bar helped him write the song.
He left some people alone.
Some people were not into it. He comes in and he's like, everyone, come with me, come with me. And we were like, but we didn't pay for our drinks yet. And he was like, you can come back. Come with me. And we were like, okay. So like 10 of us maybe?
Yeah, not even.
Followed him right outside the bar in the atrium area. The lieutenant from the First Order was there with 2 stormtroopers. And he sang the song to them that we just helped him write.
Yep. And using our lyrics. Kick, Orwell.
Kick.
Make you.
Like, it was so great. There was a guy who basically played an invisible flute solo, like a passenger, like just for fun, started doing it, which I don't think anyone was expecting. The lieutenant almost broke character. He was like so surprised. It was hilarious.
And then they arrested the songwriter. And that's such a cool moment that we got to see that like literally like a handful of people were there for.
Yeah.
And that happened, I'd imagine, everywhere.
Probably, yeah. I have to imagine that it was, because I heard from other people that songwriter guy got arrested a second time that day, and like some kids had to break him out of the brig.
So there was stuff in the brig.
I think so.
That's cool.
But then he was telling, because we saw him later and we were like, how'd you get out? And he was like telling us the whole story and like how he got arrested the second time, and like, so it's just cool like that. And
then he knew us, and like
then
he kept
knew
talking
us.
to us.
So then he would see us.
He kept getting our names wrong.
He kept getting our names wrong,
but like he made a joke about it.
Yeah, and like so like he would see you and run over and like catch up with you, or be like, hey, I'm performing at this time, you should come see me. And it was just fun.
It really, really exceeded my wildest childhood dreams.
It really did.
Like, it was so intimate.
It was great.
So immersive. So personalized. So just...
It was great.
Incredible.
I will say, it was incredibly exhausting, though.
It felt like...
so tired.
Yeah, I kept saying this to you. It felt like a trip to Vegas, where you're like, you can't do more than 3 days in Vegas.
It really did feel like longer. It didn't feel like we were there for such a short amount of time.
No, and we barely slept.
Yeah, we're exhausted, but...
Oh, God, and then we proceeded to have the longest, worst day of travel.
Nightmare travel day.
Yeah, but whatever. It was worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
It was...
magical.
It's so cool.
I can't even begin to explain how much that meant to me.
Yeah, and it was just great. It was beyond what I was expecting.
These are memories that 20 years from now
I'll remember
Lieutenant Croy.
Yeah.
Every time he walked by, I would mean mug him. I didn't say anything, but I would just grill him, angry,
and then on
just track him across the room.
The second night at dinner, he had come through and was talking to people. sometimes threatening, sometimes making conversation, like depending on how people reacted.
Yeah.
And he walked by our table and he said something about, every time I see you, you have the most nasty look on your face.
And it's too bad because you would have a handsome face otherwise.
Yeah, it was funny.
And then I said, well, I would return the compliment, but I like to tell the truth. And he was like, oh.
He was so offended, yeah.
He caught off guard on that.
It was so great.
And like little things like that, I'm just going to remember those moments and just be like, these are the good days that like get you through like a terrible work week. It was just incredible.
It was fantastic.
So, yeah. I don't know. That's it. Do you have anything else? Last things?
I don't think so. It was an amazing time. I'm glad we got to do it together.
Yeah. That was fun to share with you.
It was really fun to share with you.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, like I knew of Star Wars before we started dating, but I wasn't super into it. And so like, you've really been with me every step of the way with Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's been nice to sort of like see it through your eyes almost, because like you have that childhood connection that I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so even the stuff that like maybe I'm not as into as you are, it's like it makes it more fun to me to see how much you're loving it.
Yeah.
So, and that's just in general with most Star Wars stuff.
You'll know if you're gonna like it, but if you can get someone, at least one person in your party who's a me.
Yeah. Because it was like, I was having a great time and I was having fun, but like seeing how happy you were.
Yeah. And even like
really added to it for me.
There's some references that would have gone even above like your head.
Mm-hmm.
But then I would be like, oh.
You were like, oh, this is what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was just fun. And like your like childhood giddiness, like rubbed off on me, you know, like it's very catching. So it like definitely added a layer to it for me, I think.
Yeah. And I really like how you can engage with it to whatever level you want.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to bring one cosplay outfit and then just wear it once, like fine. If you want to have 3 outfit changes a day, like I did, like fine. Yeah, man.
It was amazing.
If you can do it and you want to do it, do it.
Mm-hmm.
It will not disappoint on any level. Like I was so primed for it to disappoint me.
Yeah.
And it
was
exceeded.
amazing. It was like genuinely an incredible experience.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. Emily, thank you for being on the Nerdy Nerd Reunion, mini reunion with me.
Thank you for having me.
Keep your ear out for some more team previews with Chuck, and we will be back in a couple of weeks with the main podcast. The season's kicking off. And those of you that are in the Fantrax Draft League, don't forget to do a mock draft if you can before Sunday, our actual draft. I think it'll help to have seen the logistics of drafting. But otherwise...
Also, stay tuned for Wagatha Chrissy Part 2.
Yes.
We have to hear about all the court proceedings. I'm at the edge of my seat.
I know. I don't know if there's been a verdict yet or not.
No, there hasn't been.
All right, so we'll find out.
That's what he said last time.
Yeah.
Which I love that episode, by the way. And I would be totally here for Ian's Gossip Corner being
Every
a
week.
New installment on the Patreon feed, because it was a delight to listen to that.
Yeah, just maybe check in on Gossip Corner instead of Posh Island.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Yeah, and as always, stay nerdy, stay proud.